What if hiring could be easier, more streamlined, and less time-consuming, so even when you're busy, you could still be smart about the way you hire? With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click, so you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates. Then, ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you, it finds them. And it's no wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, it's the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by growing businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That is right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. That's ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M.
Sport Clips Haircuts Holiday Halftime Giveaway has cash for you this holiday season. Sport Clips is giving away $500 every day until December 15th. Visit sportclips.com/holiday to enter for your chance to win. No purchase necessary. Ends 12/15. Must be 18 or older to enter. Subject to official rules at sportclips.com/holiday. Void where prohibited.
And a happy Wednesday morning to you, and welcome in to Golic and Wingo, getting you ready for your day. Hope you're ready to push through what is always known as Hump Day, as we get set to get you ready for what's going to happen this weekend, starting Thursday in the NFL with the Week 15 matchup between the Broncos and the Colts, which we probably won't talk about much, but it's the start of the weekend anyway. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr., on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Michael, did you have a good birthday after work?
I did. More sweets, people that sent stuff to the house. Went and had a good workout, though. Good sweat, which I'm a little sore now, and I needed to sweat out all that sugar. And then basically I crashed pretty early. I actually crashed in the afternoon with the sugar blues. But it helped me stay awake a little more because there was actually some pretty good NBA games that went on last night. So I found myself more awake than normal because I took that afternoon crashing nap. But no, pretty good. It feels good to be 36 or 55, however you want to say.
Yeah, either one. We'll go dealer's choice on that. It's a difficult time of year, especially in the Golic house, if you're thinking about trying to be health conscious.
Yeah.
Because in addition, the holidays are that time where you can't insulate yourself from bad food, from cookies, from sweets, from everything else, because it just gets sent to you. It's part of the season. You can not buy it all you want, but it's coming your way. And then we've got your birthday.
Yeah.
We came off Mom's birthday at the end of November, and then Jake and Sydney's birthdays are both coming up soon, too. So you're getting hit with cake every direction you come. Good luck trying to lose that last 10.
Yeah, and you know what? You have to be nice. If people are going to send you or make a cake, you have to eat it.
Right. By the way, there was, or shove it in your face.
Well, that too. You could do that as well, yes.
There was one thing that was really cool yesterday that NFL Films put out.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
It was a clip of you your last year of the Eagles,
I
right?
believe it was my last year of the Eagles, yes. I was on the bench, and the NFL Films camera was behind the bench, and I turned and started talking to it, saying, Daddy's tired. And
Daddy's really tired.
He
was very tired.
I even answered their tweet, and I said, I guess I was really tired. But I said hi to Chris and the boys, Mike and Jake. I said, when I come home, we'll go out and we'll get a Christmas tree. And then I gave the stern look and said, be good.
Be good boys, you said.
To be good boys. To which immediately your sister, my daughter Sydney, who is 22 years old, tweeted, "Oh, thanks for including me."
Well,
to which I answered, "You weren't born yet." Yeah. To which she answered, "Lame excuse."
So there you go.
So there you have it. Now you know my household.
Yeah, you had a lot more money in your wallet at that point before Sydney was born.
There are savages everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely everywhere. All right, so congratulations. I'm glad you had a good day, and let's get going on this day with what we always start the show with.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not,
it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top with Kawhi Leonard making his return, his first game since May 14th. He scored 13 points, but Spurs lost to the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Leonard was a team best +8 in the 16 minutes he played, and the Spurs were outscored by 14 points in the 32 minutes he was off the floor.
Yeah, again, he got just under 16 minutes of play. Remember, he got hurt in the Western Conference Finals with that ankle injury. So he missed the first 27 games, so he came back in. They're going to bring him along slowly, obviously, with the 16 minutes. LaMarcus Aldridge led the way again, 23 points, 13 rebounds. But it's amazing. They go 19-8. We talk about how well they did, without him, and they bring him back and play him again just 16 minutes, and they end up losing. But I think down the road they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, it's one of those, I don't know if you let the results of this and one immediately color your decision going forward. And Kawhi Leonard, we've gotten back to, I heard a brilliant soundbite from him on the way in here on SportsCenter all night with him just talking about being happy to be healthy and be back there on the court, and it was very monotone. And
he is Mr. Quote, isn't he?
Oh, I mean, yeah. It's if Bill Belichick could become a player, he would be Kawhi Leonard, and I think he'd love that.
Well, he learned it probably from Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
By the way,
true.
I mean,
that is Bill Belichick. You're right. That is a complete miss.
Big fundamental. The Spurs' next game is in Houston on Friday night at 9:30. That'll be a test because the Rockets are playing so well, and that game's on ESPN. So we'll look forward to that and see what Kawhi can do in game number 2. We continue.
Off the top.
LeBron James did LeBron James things. The Cavs passed the Hawks with paced the Cavs with 25 points and 17 assists. 17 assists, tying a career high, by the way.
Yeah. 67 total points created, 25 scored, 42 off the assists. The Cavs made a season-high 20 three-pointers. They've made 10 three-pointers in a franchise record, 17 straight games. Here's the kicker for them. Twice now. It's the second game they've had over 30 assists. They had 35 last night. And one other time they had over 30 was against the Hawks themselves. They have another player coming back. We talk about Kawhi Leonard. This one, not as good as Kawhi Leonard, but a good piece for the Cavaliers that they need to play big in the middle. Tristan Thompson played 6 minutes his first game back since November 1st when they had that calf injury. So getting him back and getting him into the rotation.
Yeah, we know health is a big part of this, especially where the Cavs ultimately want to go, and it matters less so now. I mean, Trey and I were joking about the start of the NBA season coming up on Christmas for most of the football-watching crowd.
Right forward to it.
But for LeBron James and this group, it's another year of them all to be together. It's that continuity. Waiting for it to translate defensively for them is going to be most important. But we saw how damning injury was the year they were able to get over on Golden State, the way the trickle-down of some of the injuries to a guy like Steph Curry can affect that outfit. So anything's possible. And for them being at full strength and playing together is going to continue to be a huge part of this.
Well, look, after that horrible start and the Celtics' hot start, they're just 2.5 games back. They're 9-1 in their last 10. And, oh, by the way, we still haven't seen their full squad with Isaiah Thomas out there. So it'll be interesting to see two things. A, how that works out, and B, how long it takes them to sort of figure that out. Because that was sort of the problem with the Cavs at the beginning of the season. Kyrie was gone. That's 30 points a game. How are we going to make this work? It took them a while to sort of figure out how all the pieces went together. And that might take a little while when Isaiah Thomas comes back as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, it has to, without a doubt. So, but for them, it only matters when the playoffs starts. Yep. That's it.
And we'll see how that continues to go forward. Again, just 2.5 games now behind the Celts for the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference. And
off the top.
Unicorn sighting in New York. Kristaps Porzingis dominated the Lakers, scoring 37 points, had 11 boards, blocked 5 shots, and made 5 threes in the Knicks' overtime win. And according to the Elias Sports Bureau, he's the first player in NBA history to record at least 35 points, 10 boards, 5 blocks, and 5 made threes in a game.
It's ridiculous what he's doing. He can also, and we'll see how the season plays out. I didn't even realize this. He could be the first NBA player in history to average 2 3-pointers and 2 blocks a game. Nobody's ever done that. Kevin Durant is also on pace to do that as well, so you could have 2 in this year. But what a game last night. Very competitive game. At one point in the third quarter, you could either say great basketball because nobody was missing, or it looked like an NBA All-Star game because nobody was playing defense. But it was incredible what Porzingis was doing. Lonzo Ball went on a nice stretch as well. He ended up with a better shooting night. It was Caldwell Pope who led the Lakers with 24, but Porzingis is just really incredible with what he has been doing and what he's been doing for that team, sans Carmelo Anthony, just like the Pacers, sans Paul George, in what's going on. It was actually Michael Beasley had 12 of his 13 points in the fourth quarter and overtime, which helped them the most there. But a very good game, of which, of course, Spike Lee was courtside there. Magic Johnson as well. They had some words as well. At one point, Magic stood up at a break and just said, hey, this is good basketball all the way around. Let's applaud the actual game that's going on here.
Yeah, and of course you missed LaVar Ball courtside.
He was there as well.
That'll be a separate discussion we'll have later.
Yeah,
if you couldn't avoid that. But shout out to Kristaps and Lonzo, too, for both being the millennials on the court and trolling everyone. First off, Kristaps Porzingis, the shoot your shot god on Instagram, going out and making it happen for everyone that's ever wanted to even think about approaching any of the Instagram models. He is truly your Latvian overlord. And then you've got Lonzo Ball trolling Nas on the way into the stadium. Did you see him on the way into the arena with the sweatshirt that had his face on it, trolling a Nas album cover after he got in a dispute not too long ago about what real hip-hop is, disparaged Nas a little bit. So there are a lot of levels to what's going on leading into the game last night. I know you guys were only concerned about what happened on the court. Just recognize there's a bigger picture.
And this is why we have our millennial on the show.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Do you guys understand any of that?
I did understand it. I did not recognize that, but it does make me think I need to widen my game a little bit.
Maybe, you know what? Yeah. There's time for that, too.
Yeah,
you're a 36-year-old man. You've got plenty of time to really get up on this.
I'm a 36-year-old, 55-year-old, so I do have time to do it.
Let me just process that for a second.
Give it a shot.
All right, I'm going to
try it.
You may just want to hit a button.
No. Well, maybe. Hump day. All right, at this point, here's an interesting question. As we'll finish up off the top in a second here. Who would you rather have right now, Porzingis or Ben Simmons?
Or Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
Wow,
speechless. I left them speechless.
You went Ben Simmons. I thought you were going to say Lonzo, since that's who we were talking about. You went Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons didn't score his first points till the fourth quarter.
We'll get into
last
that
night,
later.
but a 6'10" point guard.
I'm telling you,
I think I'd probably go Ben Simmons.
I think I'd go Porzingis on this one. A 7-footer with the rangy game that he has.
They're both ridiculous. There's no doubt about that.
In this current NBA, we know how much the quote-unquote center position has changed, but to have a guy like that, a guy like Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota, guys that can stretch the floor in that way and run with you, that just seems like something so invaluable and something so difficult to find. I get that Ben Simmons don't grow on trees either.
That's a really good question.
Sounds like a social play to me.
2 days in a row, you've come up
Sounds
with
like
a couple of good questions.
social play to me. Put it up on Golic and Wingo.
Wow.
Who would you rather have?
By the way, people
Porzingis
always ask why I'm looking over off camera when the show's going on. That's because the young people behind the glass are the only ones that get any of the references I'm talking about right now. I understand looking at you guys for a Nas hoodie reference is probably going to be misguided.
I'm not going to lie to you. Not my wheelhouse.
It's okay.
Not my
Self-aware.
strength.
But as I said, I'll try and expand my horizons a bit.
Proud of you. The other 36-year-olds, they're going to see you at the meeting, and they're going to say, that guy gets it.
That's a cool dude right there.
I'm probably not going to try, just so you know. I'm to be honest with you. And we'll finish up
Off the top
with football news and maybe good news for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers medically cleared to return to the Packers this week after missing the last 7 games with that broken collarbone, which was his right collarbone, a.k.a. his throwing shoulder.
So, you got 3 games to go. You got the Panthers, you got the Vikings, and you got the Detroit Lions. 2 of those teams will be in the playoffs right now. The Lions just on the outside looking in, because that's been the question. Do you bring him back if you don't really have a shot for the playoffs? Well, you do have a shot for the playoffs, but they're extremely difficult games. This first one being in Carolina. With that defense, especially with that interior rush.
What they just did
to
Case Keenum.
That's exactly right. So, and I know Minnesota had some line issues for one of the few times this year where they had to replace some people. But that's a tough ask for a guy that landed on his shoulder and was out for that long of a time to potential to get hit again. But, listen, you go year by year. If you can have him back and you have the chance to make the playoffs, I would say you put him on the field.
That's the problem, too, organization-wise, is organizationally at the top you have to balance, all right, this guy's our franchise quarterback. We need to make sure that we max out him overall. But in the here and now, Aaron Rodgers and every other guy on that team and Mike McCarthy are saying, this guy always gives us a chance. That guy on the field is a difference maker, but having to go through Carolina and then the Minnesota team that put him down to begin with this season is a daunting slate.
Yeah, that again was Off the Top. Golic and Wingo presented by Goodyear, tires as hardworking as college football's most blimp-worthy athletes. Goodyear, official sponsor of the college football playoff. We'll get into college football maybe a little bit later, but it is interesting. I mean, the 3 games we're talking about, at Carolina, home for the Vikings, at Detroit. So by the Carolina Panthers beating the Vikings last Sunday, it stopped the Vikings from clinching the division. So now literally everything is still in play. Okay, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you have to say to yourself, hey, not only do we still have a chance to get into the playoffs, right now I think they're the 9 seed in the NFC, which would be 3 short of the postseason.
Right.
But that doesn't matter because you've got a team in Carolina that's ahead of you that you can beat, and then you got 2 division opponents, including the guys that lead the division. So realistically, if you have a chance, you have to put them out there, right?
I would think so. Now again, they're 2 losses worse than the Panthers, 9-4 to 7-6, and they play the Panthers. They can beat them, but that wouldn't put them ahead of them. They would they still are going to have to do some scoreboard watching. But yeah, like I said, when you go year by year, man, you don't know how many times you get the chance. You weigh the side of obviously it's your franchise quarterback to. Do you get him on the field and do you make this run? Because we know if we have him on the field, you saw what he's able to do coming back from an injury and just how well he's able to play. I don't know. Especially, I guess that's the thing. If you're medically cleared to play, I guess you ask the doctor. This is another thing that when we talk to head coaches about this and we say, how do you treat something like this? He said the first and foremost is he medically cleared to play. If he's not, then there's no discussion. So if he is, then the next question is, if he plays this week, or he plays, next year, is there any greater chance he could have the injury? Is there anything that will make that injury happen easier because he's coming back now as opposed to waiting until the start of next season? Being, you know what I'm saying, the healing time of all that. Will that, or when he goes back out in the field next September, if he lands on it again, it's going to break. So if there's no difference, put him back on the field.
That's the one thing I would be interested to know because the lasting image I have in my mind is Tony Romo on Thanksgiving coming back early from that same injury and going down, and we always hear the best predictor for future injury is past injury, and we know this, dealing with it in Jake, because Aaron Rodgers got a plate and screws in there, right?
He got hardware. I believe he got hardware in there.
Got hardware put in there, and I remember my brother Jake broke his arm when we were at Notre Dame, and because he wanted to come back and try and play that season, put a plate in that forearm. Now, obviously, a little bit different spot on the body. The bone structure is different, so I can't compare those two. I'm not a medical doctor or a PT or anything like that, but I remember what the hits on that did to the surrounding bone area when you've got hardware in there.
Coming back early,
It makes a difference when you're doing something that's trying to get you back for short-term gain and what could potentially happen. I know the collarbone's sort of a weird animal, but these are all questions that they're going to have to ask themselves leading up to this.
Well, look, here's the deal. Okay, you're right. They're 2 games behind Carolina in the wild card scenario right now, but remember, they play Carolina this Sunday, and Carolina's still got to go to Atlanta.
Yes, it does.
So it's very possible they could have the same record and then have the tiebreaker over Carolina.
I think it's a long shot. They can make it, but it's a long shot. Trey, do you put him in?
Absolutely. Look, at this point, he was drafted in, 2005? It's now 2017. I'm taking every shot I've got with Aaron Rodgers because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have peak Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
We can all say they're all going to look like Tom Brady at the age of 40.
Right.
That's just not the case. Let's be clear. Tom Brady is the outlier. And he's changing the dynamic and what we expect, and that may be true, but if you're hoping for that, you're hoping against everybody else in the history of the league except for Tom Brady. So I'm taking every shot I got with this guy because I think when he's right, he's as good as anybody in the league, and that's including Brady, who a lot of people think is the greatest of all time.
Right.
So if I have a chance with that guy, I'm rolling every chance I've got with him. But how seriously do other people think about their playoff chances? Here's Ryan Clark and Jeff Saturday about the idea of the Packers making it into the postseason.
How much do you take seriously that Green Bay team now?
I don't yet.
No?
No, they go get a win. They go get a win in Carolina. Puts them more in the hunt. It brings Carolina one game closer to where you are. It's a very competitive path in the NFC. I think it's going to be a long uphill fight unless you win next week. You talk about it next week, it's a different scenario. I expect the Panthers to beat the Packers next week in that game and put them out of the playoff hunt.
Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, Packers win. Aaron Rodgers comes back as healthy, and what the expectations they will put on. I'm telling you, this is a completely different football team with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. When Aaron Rodgers comes back, he'll be back. Randall Cobb will be involved. All of a sudden, Adams and that thing. But I'm telling you, the chemistry those guys have, the way he extends plays, the Panthers will have an all-day affair trying to cover those guys outside.
Well, look, here's why this game is so important. Because, yes, it's still technically possible for them to win the division, win the NFC North. But if you look at the Vikings schedule, they've got the Bengals, then they're at Green Bay, and then they've got the Bears. As long as they win one more game, essentially, it's over for anybody else to win that division. Well, so they just got to win one.
Let me put it this way, and I think it's going to be very difficult for him to come back as long as he's been out. in Carolina, the way that Carolina defense has been playing, and the offense when Cam is being Cam, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. How about this? If they play this game and Aaron Rodgers plays and they lose, then do you sit him? You pull them out for the rest of the year, or do you say, okay, because they're going to be done. They lose that game, they're going to be done.
Yeah,
they're not going to make
this is essentially it for them.
It's already a long shot. So let's say they lose this game, and they're going to be done then for the playoffs. Do you then say, okay, let's really not take a chance here and sit him for the last couple of games of the season after you put him back in the game this week?
Oh, absolutely. I think at that point, if you're saying losing this week eliminates them from contention in our minds, I wouldn't even think twice about pulling him at that point then, because you're still one hit away in that point, and you're still putting him in unnecessary risk coming back off an injury where we're flirting with this idea to begin with. It's not a slam dunk thing yet. I mean, it's probably going to happen, but the fact that we even have to have the conversation about it, I would pull him out if they win this game.
Would he be mad? Boy,
he'd be livid.
Players that want to play, man, he would be so mad about that. But that does seem like it would be the smart thing to do.
Good for the perception of Aaron Rodgers, too. I remember when Mina Kimes did that article, our ESPN senior writer, that breakdown of Aaron Rodgers, a guy who's acutely aware of the way that he is perceived, and also who is perceived as maybe not always being as fiery a competitor as Tom Brady or having interests outside of football, which, as you know, can at times make people believe that you're not fully invested or invested enough in this. I hope people see and look at this situation and realize that Aaron Rodgers is every bit of the competitor as all of your favorite players are. This is a guy that is going to push himself to the limit for this small chance that his team has.
Well, and just so people understand, and you talked about the rust and where he would be. Well, he missed a ton of games in 2013 with a broken collarbone on the left side. Happened in a Monday night game at Lambeau against Chicago. Came back for the season finale against Chicago with the NFC North crown on the line. And all he did was go 25 of 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, including a 48-yard touchdown pass in the final minute to Randall Cobb to seal the win. Now, I get it. It's different because that was his non-throwing shoulder as opposed to his throwing shoulder. But history tells us when this guy comes back, he could be just as good as he was before. Yeah. But you're right. This is really, this coming Sunday is a playoff game for them. If they lose this game, they're done. Because I don't think they're getting in.
So then you pull them after that?
I think I would.
I think I would. It's horrible to say because I know as players there's no way we want to come off the field, and he wouldn't either. But I think that would be the prudent thing to do if they were to lose this game against Carolina. And I, quite honestly, even if you tell me right now Aaron Rodgers is playing and you're asking me to pick, I'm probably going to pick the Carolina Panthers in that game.
See, but like you said, we basically have a playoff game this weekend. Who says we need to expand the playoff?
That's exactly right, Junior. That's exactly right. We don't need more NFL teams in the postseason. Score one for the little guy. Or the younger guy.
Yes.
All right, here's what we got coming up. I'm actually the little guy here, let's be clear. Here's what we got coming up later on the show. At 7 o'clock, Jon Gruden will join us to talk about what he saw from the Patriots on Monday night and what are the expectations going forward in their huge Week 15 matchup against the Steelers. 7:30, Ramona Shelburne, ESPN senior writer, will join us to talk about what's going on in the NBA and what's going on with LaVar Ball and the Lakers, as there have been some interesting discussions there. Robert Griffin III. My Baylor alumni quarterback will join us. He joined us on NFL Live yesterday. He'll join us again today to talk about what he sees going on in quarterback play and what his future is in the NFL in 2018. He had some interesting things to say yesterday about that on NFL Live. And Charles Barkley will join us at 9 o'clock to talk about all things going on in the NBA, even though Junior says it doesn't really start until Christmas Day. And he may agree with you, quite frankly, the way Charles goes. We got all that.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Life happens. With ADT, you can feel safe with an ADT starter kit professionally installed for only $49. Call today and install an ADT starter kit that includes security panel, keypad, key fob, entry and motion sensors, and for a limited time, get a camera included and installed at no additional cost. That's a $449 value installed for just $49.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSB, and EasyPay. Activation early term fees may apply. Certain marks excluded. License available at ADT.com, Florida EF 001121, Louisiana F1639.
We roll on Golic and Wingo on a Wednesday. Glad you're with us. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And as we mentioned in SportsCenter, Kristaps Porzingis was in the zone last night. 37-11, 5 blocks, 5 made threes. Only guy to do the 5-and-5 thing this year, which is unbelievable. In the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. So that was the good news for Kristaps Porzingis last night from New York, and that was the thing that a lot of people are talking about. And then there's this. Ramona Shelburne, our ESPN senior writer, will join us later on the show, has a story on ESPN.com that the Lakers guys in the front office had a meeting with LaVar Ball. Right. This is a very choice phrase she used. The outspoken father of rookie point guard Lonzo Ball, asking him to tone down some of his public criticism of head coach Luke Walton and help create a more positive atmosphere around his son. The meeting, which took place within the past few weeks, was called by Lakers president of Operations Magic Johnson and general manager Rob Pelinka. So they had a meeting, and they asked him to tone it down. Think that's going to change?
Probably not. I would say probably not. Listen, I don't think LaVar is going to change at all. I mean, he's been obviously in the news with the company, and obviously what's going on with his kids. By the way, Lonzo and LeBron James was asked a lot about Lonzo. That's their next game. As Cavaliers play the Lakers on Thursday, and LeBron had nothing but great things to say about Lonzo, the way he's going about a business, keeping the low profile, not a big talker, just going out and playing, saying it's all about the win. He even referenced when Lonzo got a triple-double, but they lost. He said it doesn't matter because we lost. That really struck a good chord with LeBron. But, the dad, I think at this point, as far as LaVar is concerned, you know what he is. To me, it's become white noise. To me, I mean, and I'm not even around it all the time. But to the
Lakers, apparently, it isn't white noise.
Well, I mean,
that's why they had this meeting.
And I said this a month or so ago. I said, what did he say when Lonzo was at UCLA? All of a sudden, he criticized the other players on the team about how they were going about their business. Look what he did with his kid he pulled out of high school. He got that coach fired there. So and I said, what happens when he starts criticizing a Laker player or the coaching staff? And it's exactly what he did. I think it was Ingram, he was saying, pass the ball to Lonzo. It was open or whatever. And then, I know how to coach my son. They're not tough enough on him. They don't know how to coach my son. When it starts to get to that point, that's when you have to do exactly what Magic did, is said, okay, time to have a little meeting.
I kept waiting for LaVar to criticize some veteran player. I know the Lakers are a young team, so those are harder to come by. But criticize some grown man who's been around the league as far as that and watch that saga play out. That was the next level of interest for me. But I'm with you. He's a one-off. He exists in so much as the media puts a microphone in front of his face now. And I understand that for a while, even I was entertained for a while because it was some new shiny toy, and there were interesting aspects to what he represented business model-wise, but now it's gone beyond that. To your point about LeBron and Lonzo, there's a couple of good things looking up for Lonzo, one of which is that he has been able to overcome. We said that eventually you're respected in the league in whatever area you work in because of what you do. And it seems like after that initial wave of pushback, people have realized Lonzo's a good kid like we've heard all along. He's there to work hard and do his job and all of those things. But for him, I'm sure he's just relieved he's not going to Lithuania, right? Like at the very least, by comparison, Lonzo realizes, you know what? Some of this scrutiny, my life's not all that bad because I'm not getting ready to go play basketball for $500 a month in Lithuania.
Yes. To that point, both those kids were there.
They were there
last night before they
soaking it up.
They haven't quite shipped off to that
not just yet
tiny town in Lithuania. By the way, LaVar did confirm the meeting took place, saying it was the best thing. Everybody's going to try and make it an ego thing, like I'm trying to tell them what to do or they're trying to tell me what to do. It's not about that. LaVar was asked about that in this meeting by our Coley Harvey last night.
Are you concerned about them wanting you to not be as outspoken?
You know what? That's what y'all saying. But behind closed doors, man, we got a great communication, man. People going to try to twist what I'm saying, what they saying. But it's not going to happen because we're going to get these W's. Here we come.
Well, they didn't get one last night.
So for me, like I said, it's become white noise. I get to your point, Mike, how you're talking about was entertaining early on because it was just, where the hell did this come from? And then the business aspect of it was interesting. Whatever you think about his marketing skills, the thought of what he was trying to do, maybe for a different player down the road, may prove to be more beneficial. We'll see. But to me now, Trey, it is exactly what I said. It's white noise. I just hear blah, 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 and it doesn't affect me, doesn't motivate me, doesn't do anything to me one way or the other right now. I just hope, and Lonzo is doing a great job, and you just hope the younger ball kids that they find their way, wherever that's going to be, that they find their way.
I am interested to Trey's point, though, just about this idea that this meeting took place for a reason, as much as we can say that what he says is ultimately inconsequential.
To me, but to the Lakers, you're right.
We've seen that that's clearly not the case, and so how and why is it still resonating in that building? Is it just as simple as the media continues to give him this outlet, and so when he talks about that team, that gets dumped in Luke Walton's lap or Magic Johnson's lap, and round it goes? Or is there an actual belief that this is seeping into that locker room and creating an environment that's less positive for Lonzo? Are there real, tangible results to what he's saying?
Well, look, I think that's the point more than anything else, is that whether we consider what it is or isn't, they consider it to be a problem. They're 10-16, okay? And I get it. They're a young team, and they're going to work around Lonzo. But your other point, I think, is very fair. That gets back to them because we keep putting microphones in his face.
Right.
And if people didn't keep putting microphones in his face, now he could still chirp, from where he sits in the stands and sort of scream and yell and have meetings with our brass or talk to them that we don't know about. But then the idea becomes, well, maybe it keeps getting back to them because people keep saying, hey, LaVar, what do you think? And then that's played everywhere, and then the Lakers have to hear that.
And you guys have been around this a lot longer than I have, so I'd ask you is where does that become our responsibility? Where does this understanding that this is something that's interesting, it's sound, which we know is prized in this, to know that you're going to get a consistent version of sound that is going to be jarring and abrasive to a lot of people, where does saying that, like, we know we've got this never-ending source of content right here in our lap, and saying this may be something that's run its course, this may not be something that the people listening to us really are even interested in anymore. Where does that burden fall on our side?
That's for me, it fell a long time ago.
For me too. I mean, and that's the thing. There are shows that will play it or put them on and that, and then there are those that won't. And we just we're past it. But I get what you're saying. As an organization, as a network itself,
as a media and as a media entity in general,
you'll never not take. It's just like when Todd McShay was getting a lot of grief for asking Scott Frost about is he leaving. Right after they beat Memphis and win the AAC. Right, he's on the field. I have to ask you this: what are the reports about you leaving and going to Nebraska? And he said, "I just want to join my team." He took major grief for that, and all of us said, "Listen, any reporter from any network is going to ask that question. You're going to do it. If the report is out there, you're going to ask it." So, to your point, I think as long as LaVar is going to talk the way he does, somebody's going to stick a microphone in front of his face. And the onus, everybody keeps saying for the networks don't do it. There's a responsibility to the parent, because I can say this, I think pretty easily. There have been a lot of greater players, and we'll see where Lonzo ends up, right? Okay, he's got a lot of career left. But there have been a lot of great players who have played in this league who have had fathers that were great players that played in a league, in any sport, who don't chirp, okay? Who get a microphone put in their face, and they let their kids kind of do their thing, and they don't get involved. LaVar wants to, so as long as he wants to, I think people will still stick a microphone in his face.
Absolutely. In fact, the more apt comparison for sort of a parent relationship like this is not in a team sport really like this. It's mostly in individual sports like golf or tennis, where you hear some horror stories, and we've seen them play out over the years of some of these parents that are so overbearing and so are all in on their kids' careers that it really has a poor effect on the kids. I will say this to Lonzo's credit. He's been amazing through all this.
He has. Yes.
There is a real relationship there between those two. I mean, he's handled all of this with the aplomb and dignity much older than his actual age. And the fact that that he did that Father's Day commercial last summer, so he's handled this really well. You just hope that this continues to go in a positive direction, and not become more of the sideshow circus that sometimes it seems
and whether
like.
You may not like the decisions that are out there, A, they're not our decisions to make, and B, if the kids get along with the dad, that's all that matters, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's that father-son or parent-kid relationship.
Yeah, and that's the part that we'll never know, and it's probably good that it stays private because at some point, very few things in their life are, so maybe that nature of that relationship is one of those that's okay.
Otherwise, you end up working together on a radio show.
Yeah.
This is really a problem. All right, coming up, there's another super team in the works, and everyone outside of that super team's fan base probably not going to be thrilled about it.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Time for a little Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts.
We continue on Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Lots to get to coming up. We'll have Jon Gruden join us in the 7 o'clock hour. Charles Barkley will join us in the 9 o'clock Eastern hour. Robert Griffin will join us. The third will join us in the 8 o'clock hour, as will Ramona Shelburne in the 7 o'clock hour as well. So lots to get into and lots of discussion. But, we had the big move in baseball over the weekend where Giancarlo Stanton went to the Yankees in the Marlins fire sale, the third, the sequel to the sequel. People were thinking, well, what happens next? Well, they may not be done because at the baseball winter meetings in Orlando, the Yankees have indeed traded third baseman Chase Headley.
Headley.
Headley to the San Diego Chargers. I did it again. San Diego Padres.
San Diego Padres. The Chargers are not the same sport, and they're not in San Diego. But
there
otherwise,
you go.
You're right on the button.
Other than that, on point.
Yeah.
So that means there's an opening at third base. And, we had Buster on earlier this week to talk about what the moves may be coming next for the Yankees. And we mentioned the idea of Manny Machado. And, it was a maybe because his contract's up after 2018 in Baltimore. Well, now Buster thinks, hey, Machado may really be in play here.
Let's make this very clear. If the Orioles actually want to make their best possible trade, you know who they should call? The Yankees, who need a third baseman right now. They certainly would have the prospects to deal, but I don't think Peter Angelos would ever make a deal with the Yankees.
Don't ever say never.
I was about to say.
Never say never.
Again.
Don't ever say never.
Never say that. How about that?
That's one of the first things I'd call to see what you can get back for that. But you would just be making that team just so much. They're already going to be the favorites and then that much stronger going in. We know the weakest part of where they would need to improve the most or the biggest question would be the starting pitching because they have that great bullpen. But the hitting seems to be taking care of itself right now. Machado, another great-looking athlete, another big-money guy they'd have to pay in a year or so, and you just wonder at what point do you really hit the level with that when you just can't pay anybody anymore.
Yeah, this becomes the interesting part of sports like this in the NBA where the cap is so much different than what we're all used to in the NFL where it's a hard line cap and you're paying more guys. But baseball's got to be the sport where bringing together a super team is still the least effective, right? As far as bringing together so much marquee talent. In basketball, you really only need 2 or 3 guys to affect the league in a way that we almost call unfair and that we lament for multiple years now. In football, if you could manufacture it somehow, it'd probably be more of the same. But in baseball, it still ends up being kind of a crapshoot, right?
Well, that's because baseball, in its essence, comes down to a one-on-one battle in situations. Can my pitcher get your hitter out? And obviously, there's strategy and where you want to put, the shift and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you have 2 or 3 basketball players that are the best of what they do, you're going to have a chance to win the title every year. That's not the case in baseball because pitching is such a unique thing in that sport.
And I think one of the biggest differences we have to realize now for the Yankees is load up now because who's the young talent we talk about all the time right now? Sanchez, Judge, Gregorius, right? Well, Sanchez made $557,000.
That's changing.
Judge made $544,000.
That's changing.
Gregorius, he made $5 million, which is really chump change in baseball. Now, certainly you have to pick up the tab of Stanton.
To have that chump change, by the way.
Yeah. Pick up the tab of Stanton, and in a year, but you don't have to pay Machado right away either. So they it's like the It's like the Seattle Seahawks before they had to pay everybody,
exactly
especially
right.
the quarterback and Russell Wilson. But they managed to pay some defensive players, and then it's how you all fit it together. Right now, they don't have that worry because when you have young talent that is performing at an all-star level, man, you struck gold because you haven't even tapped in to your soft cap, hard cap, whatever it is. Eventually, you're going to have to, and eventually these guys are going to have to get paid. It's just a matter, will the Yankees pay them all, or you start moving around pieces in a couple of years?
Well, that's exactly right. And that's why you look at how Seattle has been able to do it as opposed to how the Colts were never able to do it when they had Andrew Luck on the cheap. And now they're paying the price for that because you had to pay Andrew Luck. Unfortunately, he got hurt, which makes it even more of an interesting dynamic. But now you've had to pay your franchise quarterback. He's not on the field, and you still haven't resolved a lot of other issues. Give John Schneider a lot of credit, the GM in Seattle. He's found a way to manage and make it work. Now, they're still going to have to revamp that offensive line because that's been a huge problem.
It has been a huge problem, and this is exactly the point we mentioned the Warriors before, what they did with Steph Curry on a comparatively meager contract because of the ankle injuries and then drafting all the players that they did. So this is the area you have to win, and the Yankees clearly indicating we're ready to try and win now.
I wonder if that's ever, outside of one season, has that ever been the case?
Outside of one July. Where we were like,
at some point, the cash man comes calling. You got to pay a number of people. It's just a matter of how you can massage that and manage that until it happens.
Yeah, I think they're not worried about that in 2018.
No, they are not.
Say. Nope. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide's coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Coming up, were the Patriots looking ahead to the Steelers in the loss to the Dolphins? And what's that matchup going to be like now? We'll ask Jon Gruden next.
What if hiring could be easier, more streamlined, and less time-consuming, so even when you're busy, you could still be smart about the way you hire? With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click, so you can rest easy knowing your job is being seen by the right candidates. Then, ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting so you receive the best possible matches. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you, it finds them. And it's no wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, it's the smartest way to hire. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by growing businesses of all sizes and industries to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. And right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That is right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. That's ZipRecruiter.com/M&M. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/M&M.
Sport Clips Haircuts Holiday Halftime Giveaway has cash for you this holiday season. Sport Clips is giving away $500 every day until December 15th. Visit sportclips.com/holiday to enter for your chance to win. No purchase necessary. Ends 12/15. Must be 18 or older to enter. Subject to official rules at sportclips.com/holiday. Void where prohibited.
Glad you are with us on this Wednesday morning on Golic and Wingo. Whether it's on ESPN Radio or ESPN2 or on the ESPN app, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and Jon Gruden will join us in a little bit to talk about what his takeaways were of the Monday night game when the Patriots lost to the Miami Dolphins and what that means for the Patriots going forward into a huge matchup, one of several huge matchups, by the way, Week 15 as they go to Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game that could determine home field advantage in the AFC, although it still could play out differently. And look, the Jacksonville Jaguars, believe it or not, in a weird way, are still involved in that race because of the win they had 30-9 over the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier this year. So we'll get to that with John in a minute. But people announce their retirement, and sometimes they've been retired, right? And then they announce their retirement. And I think this player falls into that category. Devin Hester has been retired for a while. He just then announced his official retirement.
Maybe he didn't really want to be retired, or nobody's calling. At some point, you have to figure out that I'm going to retire. Listen, I didn't want to retire for you. I didn't want to retire when I retired.
No, exactly right.
No, I retired because all the teams didn't call anymore, so it was kind of a forced retirement, which, quite honestly, is most of the way people retire in professional sports. Not that you really want to.
Right. So Devin Hester officially made it official by announcing his retirement. And he walks away as the leading returner in the history of the NFL, which means he has more return touchdowns, punts, kicks, interceptions, missed field goals. He had one of those against the Giants on a Sunday night game, a few years ago. He's done that better than anybody else in the history of the NFL. And it brings up an interesting question because we just had a few years ago at the Hall of Fame, Ray Guy become the first dedicated punter put into the Hall of Fame. The only guy whose only job was to punt. There have been other quarterbacks and other players who've done other things and punted and got into the NFL. Sammy Baugh, obviously, probably the most notable among those, the longtime Washington quarterback who was also an unbelievable punter. But Ray Guy did one thing, and he did it better than anybody else. He punted the football, and he was a difference maker for the Raiders for all those years. Devin Hester is the best returner of footballs for touchdowns in the history of the NFL. Is that a Hall of Fame worthy resume?
Well, you would think if you're the best in something that it would, but it took us long enough to get a punter in, which to me is a joke.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a Hall of Fame of football. There are different positions on a football field. One of them is returner, but I think a lot of people get them because I know there was a lot of talk of a special teamer, not so much a kicker, return man, punter, but a lot of people would talk of like a Steve Tasker who was actually in my draft in '85 when we both got drafted by the Houston Oilers before he went to the Buffalo Bills, and talking about him as a Hall of Fame special teamer. I don't know if we'll ever get someone like that who's that cover guy, that pure type of special teamer. Devin Hester, because he was a receiver as well.
Yeah, he had back-to-back 50-catch seasons.
Exactly, so he did that as well. But when your main job, you're the best at returning kicks, I don't know why there wouldn't be a spot for that. I mean, as far as non-offensive touchdowns, he has 20. Deion Sanders has 19. Rod Woodson has 17. Now, Deion and Rod are in the Hall of Fame for the position they played.
Correct.
They added on, which certainly added to their resume. But if they never returned, kicks for any time, or I guess part of being a DB is getting a pick six as well. But they were some of the greatest defensive backs to ever play, so they were going to be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm just thinking of other sports where you have just certain positions of where if you're the best at it, why wouldn't you be in the Hall of Fame? He's the best person to return a kicked ball, right?
And that's a skill set. That's it. Now, listen. It's different now because the NFL is trying to sort of legislate a lot of that out of the game with the way they're handling kick returns, especially kickoffs, more than punt returns, but kick returns specifically. But, it took forever to get a second pure kicker in the NFL or the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You had Jan Stenerud, who was the one for many, many years.
Right.
And then just this past year, Morten Andersen, the Great Dane, became the second just pure kicker in the NFL.
Would this be like a reliever in baseball?
That's
if you're not talking about a starter or that closer, that guy that comes in for those last rounds, a reliever. How about someone who's throwing the middle innings?
Yeah, I was going to say like a middle reliever,
because
Mariano Rivera's going to walk into the Hall of Fame.
Exactly
whatever,
right. Yeah, a middle reliever.
Well, that's an interesting question.
If that's your job,
because to me, a middle reliever, as good as and important as they are, they're basically setup men, for the guy who's really going to seal the deal. Whereas a kick returner by himself,
aren't you setting up your offense for some really good field position?
Yes, but
then you take it to the end zone,
right? Exactly. My point is, he could be the deal sealer as well as the setup guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Actually, it would be great if we could find out what are his average yards on returns as opposed to where they sit in terms of the relation, because that actually could make a better case. I mean, I'm looking at his career. The average on the returns average receiving yards was 13 yards per catch.
Kick returns. I have his kickoff returns. He averaged 20, just one tick, say 25 yards a return.
That's pretty good
for kickoff return.
25 yards on a return is pretty good.
His punt returns, he averaged just about 12 yards a punt return and 25 yards a kickoff return. It's pretty darn good.
I'd like to know where those stand if we could, to figure that out, because I think that would either bolster or weaken the case significantly because. In other words, it's kind of like a home run hitter. How many times are you going to hit one over the fence and how many times are you going to strike out?
For the number of it, he had 295 kick returns and he had 315 punt returns.
Yeah.
So those are pretty healthy averages, but you're right where that would stand as far as overall averages.
Now, why don't we put that up as a Twitter poll? Find out what's going on. Do you think first of all, well, let's put it this: should a returner,
a kick returner,
just as a skill set, should a kick returner be something that should be considered in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Because look, He did it on the biggest stages possible. I mean, he started Super Bowl 41 against the Colts with a kick return for a touchdown against Indianapolis, which eventually they went on to win 29-17. But if you think about it, the Bears scored 17 points in that game, and he scored one of the only 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And it was on a kick return to start the game. You couldn't have had a better setup to that game if you're Chicago with Rex Grossman as your quarterback going against Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and Dominique Rhodes and all those players, that to get sort of your team on the edge and get them going. He did that, and of course, it still wasn't enough.
It's interesting to be the best in your sport at something.
And there's no question that he has been
the best at non-offensive touchdowns. He's the best at it, but should that get Hall of Fame recognition?
And again, by the numbers, 5 kick returns, 4 in his first 2 seasons, 20 non-offensive touchdowns in his NFL career, 16 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. So it wasn't just those things.
No, it was not.
Is that other stuff enough?
So we'll put that up at Golic and Wingo. You also can go to at Wingo's with a Z at ESPN Golic as well. That's it. I'm sure football people would want to give the respect to a football player that does that and say be in the Hall of Fame. I'd be wondered to hear what others would think about that.
Well, why don't we hear from one of those others right now? As our Monday Night Football analyst Jon Gruden joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. And John, I don't know how much of that conversation you heard, but it is sort of an interesting discussion with Devin Hester. Look, obviously he didn't do things around the return game as much as other people have, but he has more of those kind of scores than anybody in NFL history. In your mind, have you thought about the idea of maybe we have just someone who's specifically a returner of the football be eligible for the Hall of Fame?
Why not? I mean, that's the way the world's going. We're making exceptions for just about everything these days. I think there is a place for Devin Hester to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame, so people do remember his accomplishments. But I think the criteria at the Hall of Fame is a little bit different. I think you have to play a certain amount of snaps. I think it's for the every down players. In some ways, maybe it does discriminate against punters and kickers and returners and coverage people. But perhaps there will be a special place for Devin Hester. I know there should be. I would imagine there are some markings in the Hall of Fame of him already without him having to be enshrined.
And maybe something that won't help his cause so much is punt returns, 11.7 for a career. That's tied for 8th. Kickoff returns at 25 yards per is tied for 67th. Now, the people ahead of him, had they done it less, we could break that down a little more. But an interesting thing, either way, Devin Hester retiring from football with the most non-offensive touchdowns in NFL history. All right, John, what in the why world of sports happened to the Patriots last Monday?
I'm surprised you asked that, Mike. We all know it's kryptonite when New England goes to Miami, South Florida. They haven't traditionally been as dominant on the road in Miami for whatever reason, whether it's the hotel or the sleep service. I don't know what it is, but they got manhandled. You go 0 for 11 on third down, you're not going to win the game. They lose the turnover battle, which they never do. Mike, they're missing a lot of great players. If you just pull up their defense, their world championship defense from a year ago, and then look at the 11 men that played on defense against the Miami Dolphins, and you'll see they're up against a real difficult opponent this week in Pittsburgh. I don't know how they're getting as many stops as they are. I don't know how this defense over 8 weeks was giving up 12 points a game. They're missing a lot of firepower on defense. Rob Gronkowski not playing is a huge deal. I saw him struggle without Gronkowski on the road at Tampa earlier, and they weren't the same team in Miami without Gronk either. And they're missing Marcus Cannon, their right tackle. Mm-hmm. They're missing a lot of Patriots, and for that reason, they have struggled a little bit the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting, John. The last 2 games, even though they won pretty convincingly in Buffalo, the offense also seemed a little sluggish. It was the defense that sort of carried them through that game as they got after Tyrod Taylor, and he had to leave that game, and obviously they were limited when Nathan Peterman came in. But you look at the last 2 games, Brady has thrown 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown. Is it something that you're seeing in Brady, or the players that are around him that aren't there is a bigger concern for you?
Well, the latter part of that is a bigger concern for me. I'm not concerned about Brady whatsoever. You lose Gronkowski, that's one thing. Remember, they're missing Julian Edelman, who led their team in receptions a year ago. They're missing LeGarrette Blount, who had 18 rushing touchdowns, a franchise record. They're missing their right tackle, and they're missing most of their defense. I think they're going to continue to have to win some games unpatriot-like. They might have to win a couple ugly games like you're talking about against Buffalo on the road. But Tom Brady is still a great quarterback. I don't have any reservations about that. I've studied him enough. But they do need to find other ways, other players to get involved. And I think Josh McDaniels done a great job. They just did not have a good night against the Dolphins.
Is there just a point, John? And because you have Tom Brady, they always get the benefit of the doubt. It's just like with Aaron Rodgers is on the field. Oh, well, they have Aaron Rodgers, so they have a chance. But at some point, do you just say, and maybe do we think the Patriots might be there even though they only have 3 losses? But we're talking about a Super Bowl championship or bust for them, that sometimes there's just too much to overcome with lack of talent on the field, maybe because of injury or whatever other reason?
Yeah, I think that's the case, Mike. I mean, for us to think Tom Brady's lost it, I hear people saying Tom Brady's lost it, he's 40, he's over the hill. He had 3,700 yards and 26 touchdowns and 4 picks. He was ripping the league up. He was the MVP candidate, number 1 overall, if you ask me, on tape. He has a bad night without Gronkowski, and they're missing too many guys from last year's team right now. Hopefully Trey Flowers, Kyle Van Noy, Marcus Cannon, Rob Gronkowski, those are 4 big-time players now. Hopefully they come back and suit it up on the road against Pittsburgh, and that'll make things very interesting.
Yeah, Jon Gruden with us here on Golic and Wingo. To that point, when the Patriots lost in the AFC Championship game to Denver that year, and the Broncos and Panthers made it to the Super Bowl, I think combined that year, the Broncos and Panthers had 17 players on injured reserve, and the Patriots had something like 21. So health is always going to play a part in this. But we now have, John, what could be an epic showdown Sunday in Pittsburgh with the Steelers getting Juju Smith-Schuster back after scoring 39 points and Ben passing for 500 yards without him. And now you get Gronkowski back for Tom Brady. Look, the question then becomes for this game, because of the Steelers' issues on defense and some of the things you alluded to with the Patriots and their holes on defense right now, and whether or not some of those players will be back, is this game going to come down to who, for what could be, by the way, home field advantage in the AFC, essentially whoever has the ball last?
Yeah, possibly. It sounds like a shootout to me. When you look at the Steeler defense, they're missing, obviously, Ryan Shazier, and you can't underestimate how great he was. He was a every down performer. He was good against the run and pass, and he could chase down plays and make help prevent a long run. They're also missing Joe Hayden. I don't know if Hayden's going to be back. He's their best cornerback. And Mike Mitchell's been up and down with injuries at safety. Those are 3 key Pittsburgh Steelers. And, like I say, it's going to be a shootout. I do believe that. The Patriots are depleted on defense, but you have Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, with all the chips on the table. You can't miss this game. I just got to say this. The winning edge to me for the Pittsburgh Steelers is their offensive line. I think if you really look deep from left tackle to right tackle, led by Mike Munchak, their great offensive line coach, I think the Steelers win it because of their overall dominance up front on the offensive line.
I'm Monday Night Football analyst Jon Gruden joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Of course, coach winning a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, has them this Monday, the Falcons at Tampa Bay. Another big game is going to be the Carolina Panthers, who are sitting in a wild card spot right now against visiting Green Bay Packers, who are on the outside looking in, kind of a long shot to make the playoffs, but still have a chance. And here you are, John. I know we've asked you, and I've asked other coaches before as well, how you treat a injured player coming back, and in this case, Aaron Rodgers. So he's cleared medically to go. Is that all you need to hear as a head coach if you're kind of still in the playoffs? How do you decide how you want to use Aaron Rodgers, or is it clearly just if the medical staff says he goes, he goes?
Well, you have to ask, obviously, the doctors if that's the case, and if it is the case, you go right to Aaron Rodgers and ask him what he feels. How prepared are you? How do you feel about going out here after missing a lengthy period of time, bad weather games, big games on the road, et cetera? Have a great conversation with him. And also you got to take a good look at how he's looked on the practice field. All I've heard is raving reviews of him throwing the ball on the practice field with his teammates. the electricity goes way up when number 12 walks in the building and is a green light go. But I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. If the doctors say so and A-Rod says, hey, I want to play, I say let's go play and make the playoffs. Even if we have to back in like we did last year, they went all the way to the NFC Championship by rallying late, and they got to have Rodgers.
Trey and I completely agree with that, playing him right now. Now let me add one question to that. Let's do what we do. This is what we sit here and we look ahead.
We project, John.
And now we say Aaron Rodgers plays, goes to Carolina, but they lose that game. So now basically they're out of the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs now. Is there any thought in your mind as a coach to say, okay, we're going to now sit you the last 2 games? Why take a chance of re-injuring this thing? Let's just get to the end of the season and get you completely healthy for next season.
I think you're dealing with the wrong man. I think you're dealing with the wrong cat. You know, when you get on the airplane, and I remember asking Derek Brooks after we clinched the NFC South after our 15th game, I said, Derek, next week's game means nothing. The seeding means absolutely nothing. Why don't we sit you down? You played a lot of football. He looked at me like he was going to beat me up. These guys want to play. These guys love to play. Their signature, their defining moments are on the grass with their teammates. If Rodgers is good to go, you really think he's going to go there and hold a clipboard and watch Brett Hundley? I doubt it.
Well, let's put you squarely in the Herm Edwards camp, then.
You play to win the game.
There you go.
There you go. So John and Herm are cut from the same cloth. Yeah. There's no question. Good. There's no question about it. All right, so we've hit you with a lot of football questions here, but there was an interesting note in the Monday night game. We saw you sitting together with Guy Fieri, the chef, and making some of those Cuban sandwiches and inhaling them, by the way. How much fun was that for you?
Hey, you got no idea. If you can get Guy to come to ESPN and cook for you guys, he is really some kind of character and a great friend. I've become really good friends with Guy. I got to go down to South Florida yesterday in Havana, and we went and filmed an episode of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I got to sit in the 1968 car that he drives around. It was awesome. I got to help cook some Cuban sandwiches, and we just had a blast. He's an upbeat football fan, big Raider fan, and that was a heck of a sandwich. I had a hard time wrapping my mouth around that thing.
Oh, it looked good.
I was about to say Golic was drooling.
Would have loved it.
Oh,
Golic would love. Golic, you would love hanging out with Guy.
Oh, I want to so badly.
You and Guy Fieri, you guys would be. Now you might have to go back to your Notre Dame days when you were really eating. You got all these Slim Fast commercials. Now you're looking too good.
And I would love to be. I love that show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and I love that show. I think it's a great show, and I would have loved to try that sandwich. There's no doubt about that.
Well, look, a sandwich for you this past Monday, and a real big honor for you, John, coming up this next Monday. You're going into the Bucs Ring of Honor in the Monday night game when the Bucs welcome in the Falcons. What does that mean to you, my friend?
Yeah, my dad coached with the Bucs. I've been with this franchise really since 1982. My dad worked for John McKay. My dad drafted Steve Young. He drafted Bo Jackson, although they didn't work out. Some of my best friends are in Tampa and in this organization, so it's going to be humbling, obviously very emotional for me, and I just can't wait to reunite with the Super Bowl champion team and a lot of Buccaneers that I grew up with. And big reason I'm in football and love football is being a coach's son, running around with James Wilder and catching passes from Doug Williams and hanging out with Hugh Green and the guys.
Very cool.
That's great
Very
stuff.
Cool.
James Wilder, running back out of University of Missouri, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go.
John, congratulations. By the way, I love the fact that we had you talking about Guy Fieri, so you can actually say, I love that guy. Which is the Jon Gruden. I love that guy. The Jon Gruden
I love
catchphrase.
that guy.
Absolutely. And, John, we're thrilled for you
we are.
for the Hall of Fame. Congratulations. After the season's over, I know we'll get together and talk about the draft, which is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of quarterbacks, John, might go in the first round of this draft, which makes it very interesting.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper, he downgrades everybody, and they'll probably fall into the third round. We got to start getting on Kiper's case. But thanks for the nice words. You guys have a great week, and see you soon.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Life happens. With ADT, you can feel safe with an ADT starter kit professionally installed for only $49. Call today and install an ADT starter kit that includes security panel, keypad, key fob, entry and motion sensors, and for a limited time, get a camera included and installed at no additional cost. That's a $449 value installed for just $49.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSB, and EasyPay. Activation and early term fees may apply. Certain marks excluded. License available at ADT.com, Florida EF001121, Louisiana F1639.
All right, we roll on here. Glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. A big night last night for the Knicks as they beat Lonzo Ball and the Lakers in overtime. And Ramona Shelburne, our senior writer for ESPN.com, was there, and she joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Ramona, Lonzo led the Lakers, playing 40 minutes last night. How important was it for to play in the fourth quarter and the OT last night despite the loss?
I mean, it's important for him to step up in situations where the guy who you're hoping can be at least a core player of your franchise, if not the face of your franchise, is supposed to shine, right? I mean, it's Madison Square Garden. If you can't play well there, then you shouldn't be in this game. And I thought it was a good moment for him because I've kind of been there for, his first Summer League game, his first Staples Center game, and he's generally tended to have poor games in those big moments, and this is the first time he really had that big game on the big stage.
Well, he certainly did, but they came up a little short. How would you rate Lonzo's season so far? So much talk about him, coming into the draft and how he played really well at times in the summer league. And where do you think he's sort of leveling off now?
I mean, it's really just the confidence in his shooting. I mean, everything else is there. Like, you watch it, and you ask opponents too. So I oftentimes will ask veterans in the league, especially guys who played against him. So I'd go over to Jimmy Butler, and you go, last night we talked to Michael Beasley, just guys who've been around and who've seen other rookies who've been rookies themselves. And people love him. I mean, I remember the one guy who I couldn't believe was just going off about how great he was Boogie Cousins. People really like his game because he plays that unselfish, up-tempo style. He makes really quick decisions. He's a great point guard. I mean, he's the kind of guy you want to play with, right? Because he's not really looking for his own shot all the time. The problem is you can't not look for your own shot all the time, right? Especially if you're going to be that big a focal point of the offense. But you see that feel for the game that everybody talked about with him. What we haven't seen yet is a consistent aggressiveness. And if you're not consistently aggressive, the defenses are going to scheme for that. They're just going to sag off you. And if they don't really respect your shot and your ability to make it, then you're going to be Rajon Rondo. And I think it's way, way, way too early to say what kind of player he's going to be in the NBA, but when he came into the league, everything we all thought, which was, he could be Rajon Rondo, he could be Ricky Rubio, he could be Jason Kidd. You've seen flashes of all three of those comps.
Really have, and such a cerebral kid, too, the way he sees the court. Yeah. It's really, really fun to watch that, and we'll see where his game goes. He has a long way to go, and we know what comes along with that, Ramona. You're around that a lot more than we are. To me, his dad, LaVar, has become kind of white noise. Nothing affects me on what he says anymore. I just think about the kids and the situations that they're in. But obviously it affected, or it seems to have affected, the Lakers enough to have a meeting with LaVar Ball. LaVar Ball, critical of teammates who didn't pass to Lonzo at one point, critical of the coaching as well. And we know he's going to speak his mind. So while it may be white noise to people like Trey and I, and not there so much. So what went on in that meeting, and was there anything agreed to in that meeting?
Yeah, I think, I had heard about this about a week or two, maybe a week and a half ago, kind of right after it happened. And then he and I didn't, I didn't know exactly what it was, right? That's why you have to go report it out. You have to talk to people and find out exactly what was said and who was there and what the tenor of the meeting was. And so finally last night I was able to get enough of the sourcing there, and then LaVar Ball was there and he was willing to, I said, I'm writing this. What's your side of the story here? And he said, the version I had heard was the Lakers essentially said to him, "Hey man, you got to tone it down when we're talking about the criticism of the coach and other players. We want you to be able to say whatever you want to say. You're a private citizen. We knew what we were doing when we were drafting you. We knew who you were. The Lakers are one of those teams that are sort of they like the drama, right? It's LA. In Hollywood, the worst that you can be is boring. So they're fine with all of it as long as you still play well on the court." But when you say negative stuff about your teammates and the coach, it does create a negative atmosphere. And so what they asked him was just keep it positive. And if you have something negative to say, come to us first before you talk to the media. And last night when I asked LaVar about it, he said, yeah, that's about right. That's about right. I mean, don't get it twisted, though. This was a really good thing that they talked to me, and I felt really good about that. And the lines of communication were open. But I'm still going to say what I'm going to say because I've been coaching Lonzo his whole life, and I know what makes my son tick, and I know how to get the best out of him. So I might plant some seeds sometime still. Was anything settled? I don't know. The Lakers, I know, walked away from that meeting feeling like they had a good understanding of LaVar, and he was going to try to be more positive, or he was going to try to at least, think before he says certain types of things. But literally that meeting was 2 weeks ago, and then the next week he went and did a whole nother round of interviews. I think that was when he was on CNN and the Today Show, and some of that was with his younger sons who were going to, LiAngelo was pulled out of UCLA. And obviously LaMelo had been pulled out of high school earlier, but some of that was that kind of a tour. But then he went on and criticized Luke Walton again in a serious interview. So it was, how effective that was remains to be seen.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it really took. So we'll see if they have to be another meeting about that going forward. Ramona Shelburne joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and she has a piece right now, The Greatest Story Ever Trolled, which is a great title, by the way. A deep dive into how Joel Embiid has turned the Sixers' fame process into performance. It's now on ESPN.com, and you can download and listen to the Double Truck podcast on the ESPN app. What can you tell us about the unprecedented access you had to Embiid, and what did you learn from this process, usual word, that you didn't know maybe before you started this piece?
Yeah, well, I went into this like as when you're a writer, there's certain things that people say or do that make you're like, okay, I'm in. I'm interested in this guy. Like, what is this? And for me, last year I caught him in New Orleans at the All-Star game. Remember, he made a big campaign to try to get into the game. Yep. And didn't get in, but he still showed up, and he was sitting there by himself courtside. And I was like, what are you doing here, man? I want to see it up close. I want to have fun. And I go, what? That's interesting. Like, you still show up, right? Like, wait, are you trolling the league, or you just want to be here to be around it because you want to be here someday? And he's like, look, I'm just trying to have as much fun as I can before everybody turns on me. And it was such a statement. I was like, wow, that was, in a way, it felt kind of dark, right? Like, oh, that's fatalistic, right? But on the other hand, it showed this incredible understanding of the fame cycle. And I thought for a minute, I was like, this is like a 22-year-old kid from Cameroon who didn't speak English 6 years ago, let alone play basketball. And somehow he's like now in the United States trolling on Twitter and having fun. And like, he has a personality like Shaquille O'Neal. And everybody likes this kid, right? Like nobody's even close to turning on him. And he had just like the 31 best games you had seen as a rookie ever, pretty much. And he says something like that, and I was like, how did you understand the fame cycle of like where we build you up and tear you down and then build you back up again after you feel bad? How do you get that? And that was the beginning of the whole thing. I was just like, I want to understand this kid.
Well, I'm curious. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said that. Why did he give you a reason of why he thought eventually people would turn on him?
Yeah, he said, everybody just so likes something new. He goes, people always are going to prefer somebody new. He goes, it happens to everybody. Steph Curry, and what's Steph ever done? But then people turn on him, and LeBron and Russell Westbrook, and it was kind of like this. It wasn't exactly cynical, right? I mean, it was cynical, and yet it was more of an understanding. And I think the more I spent time with him, that was kind of the jumping off point of our conversation. And we were in a car together for like 2 hours driving from Sacramento driving from San Francisco to Sacramento, where they were going to play a game. And I said, hey, what is that? That was how did you know that? How did you understand that? And the more he talked, the more I could hear it in his voice. Like, it's not like he's afraid of it. He kind of knows it's coming, and it's almost like he's preparing himself for it to be in this world where, like, maybe we don't think he's funny anymore. Maybe he crosses the line. And I was like, is this something that he wants or something that he needs? And I started to think about Embiid and kind of his personality a little bit more, and I go, oh, like, he needs this. He needs the sound of people, because his teammates would all say, when people chant "trust the process," like if they don't chant it, he gets upset, right? And they'll start egging the crowd on, and it's like, oh, this guy loves this stuff. He's like an internet troll. Like he's one of those people on Twitter who will say something at you just to get a rise out of you, and that's what makes him better. And Embiid was like, yeah, when I'm on the road and people are like, Joel, you suck. He's like, I love that. If they don't chant it, I feel like it makes me sleepy.
Big man, a big man with a big personality. You got to love it. I'm with you. Like Shaq, you got to love, because we know a lot of big guys that kind of are a little more introverted. Certainly not Shaq. Certainly not Embiid. It's a great story. We're talking to Ramona Shelburne on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, a 3-time academic All-American at Stanford, playing softball. And I love this. Your mom, Jeanette, was a professional screenwriter for children's TV shows. Very, very cool there. I want you to answer the one question we asked this morning.
Yeah.
Away from Lonzo, away from Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
If you could only have one on your team, would you take Kristaps Porzingis or Ben Simmons?
Oh.
And again, we preface there is no wrong answer.
I'm going to go Simmons. Look, that's a really hard question, but because of how good they both are, and like I love Porzingis' game, I worry a little bit more about his health long term than I do about Simmons' health long term, and I'm gonna knock on wood really loud as I say that in my hotel room here. But because Simmons is eventually going to learn to shoot. He's not going to shoot left-handed anymore. Like this offseason, they're going to just make him a right-handed shooter, I think, because it's clear that's what he should be. But his game, he has LeBron James kind of potential. Like he could be that good, and he's a playmaker. So,
but he's missed an entire season already.
I know. I just am knocking on the wood as we talk because they're so good. I'm nervous about both of them, but. I think I'm always going to go with the great point guard playmaker over the great big man because the big man needs the point guard to get him the ball. So that's just always my preference.
All right, Ramona, we appreciate it. Thanks for the insight. And the story is really good. You can check it out on ESPN.com. The greatest story ever trolled.
Love that.
Ramona, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, y'all.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Big news out of Cleveland.
Yes.
It does not involve the Cavs.
No, it does not.
Nor does it involve the Browns.
It involves no sports.
None whatsoever.
At all, by the way.
But perhaps one of the most iconic things in Cleveland.
Yes, it does. Next April 14th, in Cleveland, the Cleveland Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We have our inductees.
There you go. Class of 2018.
Yep, inductees. Here you go. The award for early influence, Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Congratulations.
And then your performer category, we have Nina Simone, who you're going back to the 50s and the 60s. The Moody Blues, Dire Straits, the Cars, and Bon Jovi. So congratulations to all of them going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I always find it interesting what is classified as rock and roll, because so many different kinds of music.
Sure.
It seems like it's all sort of gone into popular music.
Should we do the Music Hall of Fame instead of the rock and roll?
Maybe.
Because rock and roll, you do kind of think of one thing,
right,
and it leaves out other genres, I think.
Like, for example, we have some Bon Jovi we could play, right? Yeah, there you go. By the way, Bon Jovi once came to the Sports Center commercial here. We took over the newsroom. It was very fun.
Listen, we spent a lot of time, Greeny and I, of time with Bon Jovi when he was part of the Philadelphia Soul.
Yeah.
He and Ron Jaworski, when Greeny and I were calling the arena games, we did a lot of Philadelphia games. We talked to Bon Jovi all the time and got to know him pretty well. So, and obviously he did okay for him in his music career.
Also
okay
true.
For himself.
Also true.
Did well.
Also, we have some Cars. Very good band, late 70s, 80s, and continued for a while, right?
Do we have any Cars?
We have any Cars? No,
we don't have any cars.
All right. Well, there you go.
We're testing Cliff over there. Please tell me, do we have any Moody Blues? Moody Blues? We have no Moody Blues at all.
Do we have Dire Straits? We have Dire Straits?
We have Dire Straits?
Yeah, good. All right, good.
You know what we should have maybe done is waited for another hour or so for the segment and got the rest of those songs.
That would require forethought and planning on our part.
Yeah, good point.
Well, actually, I think it's important that maybe Cliff stumbles a little bit. We don't want...
We like that. We're not knocked him down. We just knocked him down a peg a little bit.
It's the Joel Embiid thing, right? We build him up, and he knows we're eventually going to turn on him, and that's what's going to happen. Because I want you to know, I got a delivery at the house from my friends at Cutter and Buck, and tons of great pullovers and shirts and sweaters and all this kind of stuff. And they said in the note, if Cliff is the same size as you, please give some stuff to Cliff because the music has been on point.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
So we just knocked him down a peg here.
You just got to make sure everybody understands it's still we're all trusting the process here. We're all trusting the process.
Congrats, though, to all of them. I'm a big Moody Blues fan. Wildest Dreams. I'm really a big fan of them. Love that song, but I do like them. Other nominees that didn't make it, the likes of Kate Bush, Depeche Mode,
Eurythmics, they're worthy.
The Jay Giles Band, Judas Priest.
You got another thing coming if you think they shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, there you go. LL Cool J, Radiohead, Rage Against the Machine, the Zombies, and a few others that were up for nomination but did not make it this year.
All right, we got fill in the blank and a lot more guests coming up. Stay with us on Golic and